It's Thursday, March 21. Good afternoon. I'm Herman Green with your midday news. A special welcome if you're watching online at onespotmedia.com. Debates continue about the sacking of former Education Minister Reid and the suggestion of deep-rooted corruption in the Andrew Holness-led government. The matter was discussed further on TVJ's current affairs program All Angles last evening. The surprise statement from the Office of the Prime Minister of Reid's dismissal amid questionable actions has again raised questions about how these issues are dealt with. On TVJ's All Angles Wednesday evening, Attorney-at-Law Daniel Archer indicated that Jamaicans had seen...
How can we take what you're doing now to mean that you're accountable to us when you've had a minister who has simply resigned and sat back and relaxed? There's no consequence to the actions of the public officials. And in the absence of having consequences, merely saying that we've accepted a resignation and we're doing investigations is something you hear all the time.
For political commentator Paul Ashley, the urgency of Mr. Reid's resignation is indicative of how grave the accusations are. He has joined the call for the Prime Minister to provide details on the discussions which led up to him asking for Mr. Reid to resign. However, Director of Communications at the Office of the Prime Minister, Robert Morgan, insists that despite the concerns, legislative changes are being put in place to deal with such issues.
The Prime Minister of Jamaica cannot lock up anybody. People are asking for people to be locked up. That's why you have MOCA, that's why you have CTOC, that's why you have the Integrity Commission. They have been empowered, they have been given the budget. What we are doing is wherever issues come up or wherever we see issues might come up, we're putting in the policy framework, the governance framework, making the changes necessary to ensure that those issues do not recur.
But his arguments were aggressively countered with suggestions that the commissions don't have enough power to make changes and that legislation is not the answer.
We have legislation to stone dog, right? It's how you implement it. I don't, you see this faith in that we have this body called XY, and it hasn't completed its work. Yeah, all right? Don't complete it in 1 year, don't complete it in 2 years, don't complete it in 3 years, so what? We just waiting until it completes its work, and then it comes with a big finding. And afterwards, the public is not really interested in the finding anymore.
With Mr. Reid being the second minister to be fired under such circumstances, they are also calling for assurance from the Prime Minister that there won't be more cases and that these won't end with a resignation. The administration of Jamaica College has stated that, contrary to claims in the public domain, former Education Minister Reid will not be returning to the post of principal. Chairman of the board of Jamaica College, Michael Bernard, told our news center that he met with Mr. Reid yesterday, but it was not about his return to the school. He said Wayne Robinson will remain as acting principal. Mr. Reid was principal of Jamaica College up to 2016, but was granted leave of absence to take up the position as a government minister. In an interview last night, Mr. Bernard outlined Mr. Reid's current status at Jamaica College.
Mr. Reid requested special leave from his role of principal at Jamaica College, having completed a period of secondment from the school to serve as Minister of Education. The board approved the special leave for him to serve as Minister of Education at the request of the Prime Minister, and that is basically what Mr. Reid has been doing since that time. It's a 3-year special leave arrangement to serve, and that arrangement as we speak now remains in place.
In the meantime, the National Integrity Action, NIA, has weighed in on the fact that yet another government minister has been dismissed because of alleged corruption. Speaking on TVJ Smile Jamaica this morning, youth coordinator at the NIA, Jamie Ann Shevans, said the government must be more decisive when dealing with corruption.
What needs to come out of this for us to even seem to be moving forward is that after the investigation is done, whoever is to be held accountable is done so, and done so in a manner where we're not waiting an extended period of time to see justice done. Because then what you have is the same ripple effect going over and over again.
She pointed to another high-profile corruption scandal, the Cuban light bulb scandal, as one which was never fully resolved.
No one was really and truly held accountable for what happened. Where were all the missing funds? Yeah. The populace, the Jamaican people, still have not had full disclosure on what actually happened. So you leave us in a situation now thinking probably nothing will come of anything that when you have those instances.
In other news, calls are this afternoon being issued to the government to take advantage of the micro, small and medium-sized enterprise sector. They come from President of the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association, Metri Siaga, who was speaking at a tourism linkages function in St. James yesterday. TVJ's O'Shane Masters reports.
Questions continue to be raised regarding Jamaica's lackluster economic growth on a yearly basis. According to the government's 2019-2020 fiscal policy paper, which was tabled in the House of Representatives on February 14, economic growth is projected in the range of 1.5 to 2.9% over the next 4 fiscal years. But President of the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association, Metri Siaga, says that growth will be impeded if the issue of importation is not seriously addressed.
Why is our economy only growing at 1.8%? And there is a clear correlation to our high import bill. Imports in Jamaica increased to US $1.6 million in the third quarter of 2018 from US $1.3 billion in the third quarter of 2018. Soaps, detergents, perfumes, cosmetics, shampoos, and body lotions were imported at a value of $29 million in the same year, and an additional $67 million more was spent importing sauces and condiments.
In the meantime, he says the government, instead of importing, must look to the local market as they are able to supply all that is needed.
Our local companies are more than equipped to supply our nation's needs, and it is up to us to continue to prove it beyond today by continuing to procure Jamaican products and services for our businesses and personal use. As I promise you, I'm not going to rest until we change the procurement policies that ensure that when the government is spending taxpayers' monies, that they do so on Jamaican-made products.
Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett says the micro, small and medium-sized enterprise sector, MSME, must have a more significant role if there is to be any real growth in the economy.
If we're serious about increasing visitor expenditure, retaining more of our tourism dollars, eliminating poverty, and promoting shared prosperity, then we must, and I reiterate, must, ensure the better integration of the small and medium enterprises in the local economy.
O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
Head of the JCF's Public Safety and Traffic Enforcement Branch, PSDEB Assistant Commissioner of Police Calvin Allen, says he will be using all his powers to ensure order is restored in the town of Falmouth in Trelawney. The popular resort town has been overrun by illegal taxi operators in recent times. The police carried out a major operation in the town on Wednesday to clamp down on some of those persons who continue to break the law.
From our investigation, you have a good percentage of the tourists that disembark from the ship and tour the town doing shopping and other sightseeing. So it is important for us to be in the town to ensure that sort of an order. As you can see, our presence has resulted in very orderly thoroughfare. A number of prosecutions has been done. A number of vehicles have been found to be defective.
ACP Allen pointed out that they will be moving on to other rural parishes over the next couple of weeks.
We have been doing some work in Spalding, in Manchester. So there are several other rural towns that will be feeling our presence as we seek to restore and maintain order.
The National Road Safety Council, NRSC, is reporting an increase in the number of road fatalities so far this year compared to the same period last year. The data was presented at a NRSC stakeholders meeting at the Courtly Hotel in Kingston this morning. The figures show that there have been 96 deaths between January 1 and March 21 this year, compared to 70 for that period in 2018. The reports also show that 92% of those killed on the roads are men. There is a 200% increase in fatalities in Westmoreland and a 300% increase in the Police Area 3 Division of Manchester, St. Elizabeth and Clarendon. A medical collaboration between Cuba and Jamaica is expected to further boost Jamaica's healthcare while also assisting Cuba. At a recent Caribbean medical devices exhibition put on by Medical Link, co-organizer Lainsworth Walker explained that while Jamaica has long been benefiting from the expertise of Cuban doctors, Cuba's medical industry faces their own challenges in terms of accessing medical equipment from North America. He says with this collaboration, both countries can now benefit as Jamaica will be assisting Cuba with their medical device needs.
We have new and cutting-edge neonatal equipment. We have the surgical lights, which I had mentioned. We have blood gas machines. There's a blood gas machine here that is new to the region by a company called Radiometer, which is the company that invented commercial blood gas testing. We also have a very exciting display of the hospital beds from a company which is out of Germany and the Czech Republic.
Sanitation workers at the National Solid Waste Management Authority, NSWMA, in St. Catherine went on strike this morning. They claimed they were promised an increase in salary as they are being underpaid. They complained that on numerous occasions their salaries were paid late. Additionally, the workers say they cannot access their health benefits because the company is not paying the insurance provider on time.
It pay a shot every fortnight. They say they're not paying if you sat down Sunday. They say we fall under flexi weekend. So we fall under flexi weekend. $8,000 a week, we now get $2,000 a day. $8,000 a day them a pay we. $8,000 a week.
So how difficult is that for you to survive?
I can't survive. Every fortnight I barely live in your water. Every fortnight your water come on me after me go in machine. Every fortnight.
The workers say they were scheduled to discuss their wage in a meeting with their union this morning, but that has been postponed because the union representative is sick.
Nobody ever stand for it. The union tell them to keep meeting Tuesday. Right now, I don't know for sure that them find out and say them keep for the meeting Thursday. And when for the meeting, the same union don't keep for the meeting, them don't know whether keep for the meeting Thursday. You understand? So it's like that we don't know, fed up, we don't know what to do. You understand? And 19 years there now. 10 years and hard, what a night work, and 8 years hard, no, what a day work now. I'm get fed up.
We go now to news in sports. As Jamaica's Dave Cameron seeks a fourth term as Cricket West Indies president, it has emerged that he will not have the support of a few West Indian legends at the CWI elections, which takes place in Jamaica on Sunday. Daniel Blake has a story.
Former West Indies captains Clive Lloyd and Sir Vivian Richards, along with former pacer Sir Andy Roberts, have all backed Dave Cameron's challenger Ricky Skerritt for president of the region's governing body. Lloyd, who is also a former manager and selector of the West Indies team, believes Skerritt's vision for CWI will bear fruit due to his commitment and dedication to regional cricket. Antigone Richards says Skerritt will bring back respectability to the position of president and more former players will be involved in the team. And Roberts says West Indies cricket has declined rapidly under Jamaican Cameron and says Skerritt and running mate Dr. Kishore Shallow will help the region return to the top. Speaking on Hits 92 FM's Sports Grill with Simon Croskill recently, Skerritt said more of the region's legendary players should be involved in the current affairs of West Indies cricket.
But one of the things that disturbs me is the lack of an involvement and a sincere relationship with so many of our past players, including the legends. We were just earlier this week on Monday. We spent half of a day with Desmond Haynes and Sir Wes Hall speaking about this, and both were somewhat disillusioned, having been sort of sidelined over the years, that the legends had not really had, you know, they felt that there was a lot more that they could have done.
Lloyd, Richards and Roberts were all part of the legendary West Indies teams who won the World Cup in 1975 and 1979. However, none of these former players have a vote in the March 24 election, as only 6 of the member territories will have 2 votes each. Daniel Blake, TVJ Sports.
And that's the Midday News. I'm Herman Green. Please join us at 7 for the primetime news package. On behalf of the News, Sports and Production teams, good afternoon.